Welcome to TEDCO, our new headquarters. My name is Troy Lamel Stovall. I humbly serve as the CEO of TEDCO, and I couldn't be more excited today to have our two senators and a congressman here, and a delegate, some of my board members, our team, and folks from here all over the ecosystem to celebrate about innovation for the state of Maryland. So what we're going to talk about today is how we are accelerating that innovation. I think many times in the state, sometimes talk about innovation, entrepreneurship as the same thing. They really are different. The state, as you're going to hear, the state has more federal labs, all of us know, than any other state in the country. So we've got a great amount of innovation happening. But what we haven't figured out is how to take that innovation outside of those gates, outside of those labs, and use it and take entrepreneurs. What we have around the table today are those entrepreneurs. Those entrepreneurs to help us bring some of that innovation, senators and congressmen, out of those labs. And through your support that you provide us for this grant today, we're going to be able to do that. So our program is pretty quick. I'm going to ask Senators Cardin and Van Hollen to say a few words, and then Congressman Sarbanes for you to say some words as well. And then I'm going to ask the young man who really made a lot of this happen, Mr. Stephen Allville, who leads our federal efforts, and Ken Bazingo, who's also been part of this to kind of introduce the program. And then we just want to have a chance to just really have a conversation. Allow you guys to ask questions of the folks that are here and talk about what they expect to do with this program. So with that, Senator Cardin.
Well, Troy, first of all, thank you and congratulations. TEDCO is incredibly working to all of us. Maryland has a lot of advantages. Our location is an ideal location for innovation with the federal facilities and proximity to the nation's capital and policymakers, the academic centers, our workforce. We have a very highly trained workforce. And so there's so much going for us. We also have political leadership that is concentrated on the tech fields to do more in innovation and tech growth. So this is a natural. TEDCO is a natural. I thank the legislature for the creating of TEDCO programs and funding that to recognize that we do need assistance to connect the dots, and that's pretty much what you do. One of our real challenges has always been how do we get young innovators, new innovators into the field. It's not easy today. I am a strong supporter. I at one time chaired the Small Business Committee. I had to give that up when international events required me to take on the foreign affairs issues. But the SBIR, STTR programs, critically important to get startup tech companies partnering with the government in order to innovate and then to get that technology transfer into the private sector so that we can commercialize those types of activities. With the federal labs, and we visit the federal labs regularly, they are centers of innovation and research. We got to connect the dots to our entrepreneurs in the private sector so that we can get more growth here and more bang for the buck, quite frankly. And that's what your program is doing, the TEDCO and the FLLIP.
Just say flip.
Yes, which is great. I mean, that's how we like to. That makes a great deal of sense to get this all connected together and figure out how we can do it. So, Senator Van Hollen and Congressman Sarbanes and myself work together to see how we can strengthen that partnership. Now, we have the federal contracting part of that, which is huge. The SBIR, STTR programs, they're large. We have the federal lab programs that we finance. That's all. We have the federal agencies that are here. And NIH is a great partner for us. So we have all these programs that are here, but we want to do a little bit more. We think we can get more done. So I say this frequently, but I can't emphasize it enough. We like each other. And we work together. We like the governor. We like the legislature. We like the county officials. We work together as a team. And when you do that, you get more opportunities. So, yes, a few years back, we started, what's the official title, John?
Community Project Funding.
Earmarks. We started that a few years back. And we got off to a start that we didn't know where it was going to lead. And we have now gotten many more requests, but we get more quality that way. And we share all that information so that before we use our discretion, we compare notes, so we can't be divided and get less for our state. As a result, we get a lot more from Maryland. And I really want to applaud my colleagues because it is not easy at times to share information, and we share information all the time. Our staffs are working off the same page of information when we make our decisions. As a result, we can get more. So we're here to partner with you. We're going to give you a nice sized check before you leave today. I'll leave that up to my colleague who writes the checks here. Senator Van Hollen is on the Appropriations Committee, and he is responsible for writing a lot of these checks. But we work very closely. A lot of these originate in the House, and John Sarbanes has been our leader to get that done for reasons that are not really in the Constitution about revenue bills starting in the House of Representatives. That's been interpreted by members of the House to include just about every bill we take up has to start in the House. So all appropriation bills, even though they're not revenue bills, start in the House. So we got to get into John first, and then it comes over to us, and we try to keep it together. As a result, we've been able to partner with you and help you with this program where you're going to be providing assistance to a lot of young entrepreneurs to get into the tech fields, taking advantage of our labs. So if I might, are you going to introduce my partner?
I am. And before I do that, I want to take that transition to also thank Delegate Feldmark and her leadership.
Right.
This past year, you may not be aware, so the SBR, we will, actually, Mr. Alva will be launching in the fall, we'll be launching an SBR match program here in the state of Maryland. So that's because of funds from the legislature, from the governor. So we'll be having that. We'll be announcing that in the fall. And that will be coming through TEDCO as well.
You're getting an awful lot of activity here.
Yeah, a little bit. Keeps me busy, man. Keeps me with a job. So with that, Senator Van Hollen, thank you for being here today, sir.
Well, thank you, Troy, and it's great to be with you and your team and everybody else around the table and partners that have joined us. Congratulations on the new space.
Thank you, sir.
New space, same important mission, but it's a very welcoming and inviting place to walk in.
So far, so good.
So far, so good. Before I just talk a little bit about the purpose, and you've outlined it well as Senator Cardin, I do want to thank my partners in Congress, beginning with my very good friend, colleague, and the senior senator from Maryland, who for years has quarterbacked team. Maryland brought us together to coordinate so that we could be most effective. As you know, he's not running for re-election, but the fact that he's here and everywhere around the state shows that he is running very hard to the finish line. He also knows we will call upon him to get him back. So if you could just all join me, I want to thank we also have another dear colleague who is going to be leaving the Congress, but he is also going to be taking up other responsibilities. But Senator Cardin's absolutely right. I mean, not only do we like each other, which makes it easier to work together, but what we do that's unusual in this process is that we compare notes so that Senator Cardin and I and Congressman Sarbanes can ask for different projects and make sure that we maximize the dollars allocated to our delegation. And in addition to all his other good work, John's, of course, been very much at the leading edge of trying to make sure that we have a prepared workforce and that our small businesses have a good shot. So I don't usually do this, but since they're both going to be at least departing the Congress, can you give him a big round of applause? Thank you for doing that. We're really here to celebrate your amazing work, and it's a reflection of the fact that we're big believers in your work, that we do bring over $1 million, $1.3 million in terms of this 1.15. Excuse me.
I was going to say,
Well, actually, I underestimated because if you include the $418,000 from fiscal year 23 last year, which we've not been here with you about, which was the very important program,
that was our women's
the Open
program.
Institute for Black-owned Women.
Yep.
So actually, I'm well over it. So the reason we're here is because we believe in you. That's why we did last year's investment.
Yes, sir.
But it's also, we're a big believer in this idea, which is, we all know, as you said, we are lucky in Maryland to be home to more federal labs than any other state in the country. But while they might be in close geographic proximity, I mean, in many cases, they might as well be a world away, right? So they're down the street, but all their high-tech equipment, all their world-renowned expertise is locked behind closed doors. So obviously we're not leveraging our advantage fully in terms of being a state that is home to all those labs. So this is something many of us have been trying to do for a long time. Thank you for this initiative. And the resources are designed to try to help do that. We realize that it requires other pieces to make sure that these federal labs, cooperate. I will also say, and I'll end with this, it's also a benefit to the federal labs. I mean, and to federal taxpayers, right?
Yep.
These are all public funds. We might as well have their discoveries and their research go to the benefit of small businesses, especially small businesses that have been often underrepresented. Minority-owned small businesses, women-owned small businesses in rural areas. So from our perspective, it's a win-win. It's a win for all our small businesses, but it's also a win for those federal public dollars as we work to build a more inclusive economy and provide more opportunities for more small businesses. So that's the idea. Thank you for all your efforts. And I do want to thank Delegate Feldmark because this is a partnership at the state level as well as between local jurisdictions. I don't know if Fitzy's here from Frederick. We were just in Frederick. On there in Montgomery County. A lot of the state and county economic development organizations work with you, and we work with them. So
Absolutely, sir.
So thank you. Should I introduce?
Sure. And I was going to say I want to thank all three of your staffs. I mean, you said the process of making this, of going to the congressional earmark is a process. And our team here, led by Mindy and Stephen, working with your teams and obviously putting this together, and led by Tammy and her team together. I just want to give them a hand as well because they sometimes do work that we want to handle. I want to thank you all for your team, our teams here in Lipstick. So with that, yes.
Well, let me introduce John Sarbanes, who, as I said, has just been an amazing part of this federal team, Maryland.
Thanks very much, Senator Van Hollen and Senator Cardin. Thank you all for the invitation to join you here today and to be part of this team that's always trying to bring important resources to Marylanders and Maryland businesses, in this case, innovators. Congratulations on TEDCO's continuing participation in that effort and on your new space. I'll be very quick because we want to hear from everybody here. My lens on this is primarily through the Energy and Commerce Committee that I've served on now for many, many years, with particular focus, I know, for today's discussion on healthcare and biotech innovators. One of the challenges we've had when we look at the map, when we see all these assets, as you mentioned, that we have here in Maryland is breaking through to the kind of tech and knowledge transfer culture that this array of assets invites us to maximize, and sometimes that's been harder than it should be. This kind of project and initiative is designed not just to benefit, I think, people like the folks around the table, but hopefully to set a model or a template for how we do this going forward so Maryland can, again, take full opportunity of the potential it has. So it's great to be here. I look forward to hearing from you all.
Thank you. Appreciate it again. So you want to say some words?
No, thank you. Just thank you for your support and thank you for letting me be part of this. I really want to get to the discussion and hear from folks.
So the funds that you provided for us is a pilot. And folks that know me, I'm an engineer, computer scientist by training. And if you think about the way the engineering process works, it's kind of a try, repeat, fail, try, repeat, a pilot. And so a lot of what we've been doing at TEDCO here recently have been pilots. How do you launch stuff at a small piece and then come back and figure out how do you scale it from there as opposed to trying to grow it immediately? And so through that, Stephen Alvo, who is the longest serving employee here and a colleague here at TEDCO, leads what we now call our federal engagement efforts. And so I'm going to allow him to introduce Kim, and he'll walk us through the details of what this that you funded for us. And then that's going to start the conversation. We really want this to truly be a conversation. Questions from you all, questions from them, and just have a conversation. So, Stephen.
Thank you. So first of all, it's tough to follow these 4 acts. Right? But let me start. I want to thank you all for supporting this program. This is part of a long legacy that TEDCO has had for the past 26 years. with a clear focus on leveraging the federal labs for the benefit of Maryland and the economic impact that it can have. The evolution goes back to our technology showcases that we had, where we would highlight technologies from NIH and other federal labs and bring companies together, to our technology transfer initiatives that were funded through earmarks back when they were earmarks, to new programs that we have today that Kim will talk about, our DefTech program and other programs, and also just feet on the street, working with the companies, the local entrepreneurs, and connecting them to the federal labs because it's so important. But there are challenges with the federal labs, as Troy sort of alluded to in the beginning, right? They're very large and intimidating, frankly, to small businesses that want to approach them. They're very formal and structured with things like CRADAs and OTAs and federal contracting. And if you're not familiar with these acronyms, you don't even know where to go to start. But we need to find ways to get our companies engaged, to leverage these great resources, the expertise, the facilities, the equipment that we have at our federal facilities to boost the economics in our region. So I'm really pleased to be selected for funding to support this program. I think it's going to be very beneficial to the companies that are going to be able to access the labs. I think it's going to be very beneficial to the labs who are going to have access to new innovation that's coming out of some very impressive companies in our region. And ultimately, it's going to have a great impact on the state of Maryland as these companies grow, create jobs, and generate revenues. So with that, I want to turn it over to Kim Mazinga, who's our Director of Federal Programs, who's going to be responsible for actually running the program. She's already running a number of successful programs with the federal labs in our region. And Kim, I'll ask you to talk a little bit about what we're actually going to do with this funding.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for funding this pilot project. I think it's really important. We're going to work, first of all, we are going to build off of our DefTech program, which has been around since about 2018. And through that program, we work with 41 companies. 9 or 10 of them are here today. And these are the kind of companies that maybe are at a younger stage that will be qualified for FLLIP funding, for FLLIP support. We want to be able to go out and engage those companies, educate those companies, and help them actually connect with people in the lab. So challenging to, if you've ever tried to drive on to APG or any of the other bases around, it's not easy. We want to help them get beyond the gate. So we're going to put people in the labs. We're going to take some of our experts from one of our other TEDCO programs. We're going to put them in the labs, have them start working with the scientists and engineers. I'm fortunate that I've been with TEDCO for 3 years now. I've developed some wonderful relationships. Some of my lab partners are here from the Defense Health Agency, from the NIH and NCI programs, through the Frederick National Lab for Cancer Research. We've been able to take some of these companies to events and present in front of these people that can get them in front of the researchers. So through the FLLIP program, we've developed a framework. It's called ACES. We're going to assess companies, find out where they are, kind of meet them right where they are, provide them with the education support they need to move forward. We have a connection aspect to this, and that is where we're going to actually put these experts in the labs to find out what's being developed. So before we can start talking about how do we use the information, the resources in the labs, we need to get in there and see what they're doing and bring it out. So that's what we want to do. We have an engagement program where we're going to be teaching people how to work with companies and really doing a lot of work with FITSI, with Kathy's program up in Frederick, a nexus of healthcare and medical technology. And then we're going to provide support. So the support might be in the form of our network advisors who are experts in different fields. We'll fund them to work specifically with these companies. The education component is something that we can bring over from DefTech. I created a DefTech Academy to encourage companies to learn more about the types of engagements they can have, like the CRADAs and test service agreement. I do tend to talk in acronyms a lot, so it's military. But we want to make sure the companies have an opportunity to learn before they engage with the lab, so they know what they're getting into. kind of teach them about what's negotiable, what's not negotiable in a CRADA, to help them understand where their technology should be in development before they try to get with a lab. And because I do run programs like Stephen said, like the SBIR and STTR program, we want to make sure companies are prepared for that as well, so we can support them through those kinds of programs. And then, of course, the vast majority of TEDCO is all kinds of support that we offer to companies. And through the programs that I run, I make sure our companies know. They know our investment team because I keep talking about them. They know about the other types of support through our mentors in rural areas that they can work with because we keep talking about it. So that the opportunity to pull this pilot project together and go it out, and this is focused specifically on SETI individuals. So we have to go out, find those people, bring them in, make sure they're comfortable with this concept of working with federal labs, this very foreign concept for a lot of people, and help them feel comfortable and get them moving forward.
Can I ask a question, please, to the challenges, the cooperation within the labs themselves? Absolutely, the language they speak is different, and the forms that they have to go through, they need your help. A company needs your help in order to understand the availability of the advantage of working with the labs. But there's turf issues, there's security issues, there's just budget issues. They're all. How do you overcome that?
So, do we overcome it? One of the things that I'm doing is, in addition to educating companies, so there's a big education, and a big piece of this is also educating researchers. So we just did a big webinar. I think we had 101 people with the Federal Lab Consortium to specifically educate researchers on working with companies. So if we can get, instead of us pushing to get in the gate, if we can get them pulling us in, they can find out about programs like FLLIP and say, we need those people in here. That's a first hurdle. So there are plenty of hurdles, like you said, like just getting companies ready to engage in a contractual relationship with a federal agency is a whole different ball of wax. So that is something that we will do at the DefTech level. So that is just something we're starting to share with our companies, opportunities for federal contracts. And Troy has some really innovative ideas about a back office in a box kind of support. That's other funding we've found after. Stephen just finished a big proposal on that. So we want to try to wrap our companies with all kinds of support. Some of the hurdles they have to jump through themselves. I don't know if that answered your question.
To a certain degree.
It's tough. Look, like let's like being an engineer. Once you understand the problem, I think we understand the problem, right? It's breaking that problem down. So how can we break it into pieces, and how do we solve pieces of it? I was having a little bit of conversation with you, Senator Sarbanes, about some of this is going to be both a bottom up, which is a lot of what we're doing, and a top down. It's going to be conversations with myself and hopefully maybe members of Congress or from the delegation, working with the leadership of some of these labs. And hey, we got to try something different. We have to bring some innovation to this innovation. And so we have to think differently. So I think it's going to be a combination of, again, this bottom-up approach, working with individual entrepreneurs, individual scientists at the lab, as well as, frankly, the leadership at some of these labs as well.
I just reinforce what you're saying. When we were in danger of having an expiration of the SBIR program, the agency that helped us the most to get it done was the Department of Defense. Yeah. We needed the innovation coming from these smaller, innovative companies. They recognized that it was a matter of national security. I hope that the same type of efforts can be made in our labs, that they need that partnership in order to be able to get the energy of the collaborative efforts.
Right, to meet some of these great companies. These are concepts that they didn't come out of the lab. So it's not just us taking technology out, it's also us bringing technology in, bringing the expertise in.
Right.
Yeah.
If I could follow up on that, because this is, having been through this, we all identify the concept, right? I think we've recognized that in the state for a long time. We've been trying to chip away at it. This is a really important initiative to do it. But if you could flesh out a little bit more your concept of the relationship, like if I'm at a federal lab, okay, and I'm going to invite an individual who's part of a small business, right? Is there like an MOU that TEDCO is going to sign with NIH, or you're going to? I mean, it has to be formalized. Obviously, I think, right?
Yes.
Because they have the CRADA requirements, right? Let's say someone's visiting, they discover they've used this information. The labs have an obligation to make sure that that's done pursuant to the. So you get the question: how do you formalize these relationships?
Absolutely.
So through the tech transfer offices, every federal tech transfer office has the authority to issue partnership intermediary agreements. Right. We have a number of those, and they are very, very useful. They are not funded, but those are mechanisms that we can use to agree with each other on the ways that we want to help each other reach our goals. So our goals at TEDCO is to identify, invest in, and help grow technology companies. Their goals are mission related, right? So through that PO, we can figure out where do our interests merge, where we cross over, and what are ways that we can work together. Beyond that, it can be challenging, especially to get into the Department of Defense labs, right? And Senator Cardin, I think I saw you down in Southern Maryland before, touring some of the spaces down there. I think we were doing SBIR.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
But it can be challenging. So for companies, they get their agreements through their cooperative research agreement. That's where the NDA will reside, and things like that. They have opportunity to craft that agreement in a way that works for them and the mission of the lab that they're working with, right? So we've got two groups to satisfy. Actually, we've got a lot more groups than that to satisfy, but the company has things they want to accomplish. But the lab, and depending on the lab, has its own mission that it has to accomplish. So what our job is, when I have 3 consultants working with me right now through DevTech, and what their job is to find that synergy. Find the synergy. Get to know the companies, get to know their needs. A lot of these companies in here have had opportunities because of DevTech. They've had opportunities to brief the labs. A lot of it we can do virtually. We do briefings virtually. We prepare our companies. They tell about what they're working on, and then the labs say, "Okay, we're interested in that. Come see us. Let's enter into agreement."
I want to drill down because I'm going to throw it out to the group to get if there's a specific success that a group has. Just kind of throwing it up. I'm kind of doing the jump ball. It's basketball NBA championships. Doing the jump ball. So who's going to take the jump ball? Is there a specific example? Someone can give a quick example to answer Senator Hollen's question.
So I just want to say something about Maryland and also it applies to SBIR and also the labs. So I was born in Iran, so 40-some years ago, me and my brother, my sister, we escaped on a horse from Iran to Turkey. We came to here in U.S. For 10 years, I was stateless. I didn't have any country. So I couldn't even exit the U.S., I have no passport. So I was in a startup 20 years ago, encryption. It went over $1 billion, like a Microsoft paid us $120 million and so forth. So it was very successful. So we started this company, AI, 13 years ago, and then in Maryland. And then I want to go to California. My mom said, "I love Maryland. I cannot. If you want to go, I'm not going to come." So we stayed here.
Your mom's the highest word.
I wish I wanted here because she wanted to talk to you guys. And then so we stayed here. And then one of the reasons we stayed here was Stephen, because he's one of the first guys because we are in the business for AI for 13 years. And we are doing this something that even Google has not done. We can train the machine with like a 50 or 100 training sample, which Google is like over 1 billion training samples. So we are not using GPU, we are just using CPU, which is much cheaper hardware. And then we got better accuracy in Project Maven for Air Force. So we are getting much better result. And also we did the same thing for Bosch for dishwasher. So and we are going. So we got SPIR contract from U.S. Air Force. 3 of them, we are going to give us more money, and then we are going to get much bigger contract with the Air Force without getting diluted by VCs. And then, but Steven group gave us some money many years ago. One of the first believers was Steven and his group in TEDCO. Gave us a lot of money, $100K. But that the money was not that important that they say that we believe in this company. So that was a big endorsement for ourselves also. Say somebody other than ourselves believed in this company. And then we have over 450 inventions. We have a Nobel Prize in our company, to the head of research for Cornell, vice president research for Caltech, the guy who invented fuzzy logic, and the General Moose, the 18th Chief of Staff of U.S. Air Force. So we have a very big team of very famous scientists, and we have 450 inventions, as much as 100 startups put together. So we also in the last few years, Kim and Ann, Ann is not here, but these guys helped us a lot. They introduced us to a lot of conferences. So we went to some of these conferences, and we made a lot of networking. And one of these events, like last year, we met some guy in the tech transfer for NIH, and then now we have a letter of interest with one of these guys from NIH, which is one of the pathologists that we want to do the medical imaging with AI. So we went to working with these guys, and we also signed up because of their help with five universities. One of them local, Howard University. So basically, and then so like Cornell, Harvard, Ohio State, and Florida, and also University of Texas. So one guy in Stanford. So pathologist at Stanford. So we are going to the other one. So we basically use the SBIR. Also use the resources from TEDCO, use the resources from the DevTech, all of these to our benefit. And with these monies, we didn't even have to get a VC fund. We are just going around. And just to give you a comparison, we won a prize, 2 prizes from Chinese. I went as a VIP to China in Nanjing and Shanghai and Shandong. And in Nanjing, they gave me September 2018. They paid for all of my trip. They said, if you come to Nanjing, we're going to give you $30 million for 20% of your company, which is $120 million pre-money valuation, which we didn't accept. We came here because if we went to China, we couldn't come out. So that's
having to make sure because we saw
it's a great
Otherwise decision.
Very good story. Any other questions?
Where are you located?
Potomac, Maryland, but we have people all over the place. So
Can I give a short story of my experience working with TEDCO? So first TEDCO experience. I have been in, Mina is Andrew, integrated pharma, woman-owned business. Our mission is to find solutions for antibiotic resistant problem. Microbiologist, I have been in private sector only 8 years. Most of my career was with the U.S. Army. I was a division chief there. For years, I have always asked the question, with all this innovation, why nothing happens? That was years ago, 15 years ago. And I cannot tell you how thrilled I am that you have closed this gap and you bring the federal laboratories to private sector. I always thought there's something can be done. It is the glue, is bringing these two efforts together. And I think the outcome for years to come, Maryland is going to benefit from it. Now, my TEDCO story, I started at FITSI. So when I came, it's called Rural Maryland Funding. Nice gentleman, Chuck. I think Kathy introduced him to me and says, you're in rural Maryland. I said, what does it mean? She told me that means you're in the middle of nowhere. I didn't quite say it like that. But TEDCO has a little bit of funding. I said, what is this funding? It's like a grant they give for new technologies. They gave us $7,300 grant. That grant today, after 8 years, we just finished our clinical trial, and we are very close to commercializing a product for skincare. So I cannot imagine this 1.4 million, what is going to translate 8 years from now. Mm-hmm. So thank you. Continue your support, and we really, really appreciate all your efforts that you're doing for the small companies in Maryland.
I have a great folder. It says, we appreciate
the pledge steps.
I've been working with TEDCO and with FITSI and with Kim for the last 5 years now. Thank you for all your support. I did win a NSF grant. I'm a pharmacist by trade. I saw a problem with filtering that caused glass shards in the patients and increasing the needle stick injuries. So I invented an all-in-one package, one needle device. I received an NSF grant for our third iteration, which is an inner-blunt needle. We work with a Maryland company called Route 3. We just finished that project. It's a Class 1 device. It does not need FDA approval, although we have submitted FDA for our other ones, and we should hear back in October. but the lab would help us perfect this. So the pull force is not too much, and the filter is a little bit smaller. And we have our first pre-order from Walter Reed Hospital. So we're really happy that and pleased, and thank you guys for all your support.
And since Sue just talked, I actually want to kind of round out and talk about this because I think it's important. It's not just the labs, but the funding
You can introduce yourself again. You can introduce yourself.
I'm sorry. So just in case, I'm not in uniform, and no longer in uniform, so Gerald Singh, just in case you don't remember. But, what I love about, TEDCO and what they provide and just the overall team and the funding that you provided last year, the 400 and some K. So Sue is one of our graduates out of the Women's Entrepreneurship Cohort Program. And when Sue first came to the program, and I'm going to talk about her, it was like, Sue, I need you to pitch, right? I want you to pitch because you're going to have to pitch, right? Just with her product. And it was being able to see and have that vision, but then to help the entrepreneurs see their vision and where that vision can go. And when I think about this, and Senator Cardin, you hit on it, this is about national security. It's more than just having the labs and tapping into that both ways. This is about, right now, we're in this kind of piece to kind of hit on creativeness and to go for innovation and to support overall national security. And we can't do that without the small business and the entrepreneurs being able to get access to the labs, being able to either draw upon or push technology into the labs. And having been at the end of that, when I sit here and think about, some of the technologies that are here that TEDCO has actually supported, it's just amazing because as a warfighter, we want to get these things in our hands. And the best way to do that is to get through all the bureaucracy so that you can get that stuff out to where it's going to make a difference.
And I think as a former warfighter, also with two daughters in the Air Force, one at Walter Reed, things like what Chibs has developed are important solutions that we can't look at. You want to talk a little bit?
Yeah, I got some stories. Yeah.
Yes. And talk about why you're here in Maryland.
So, pleasure to be here. Chibweze, Nigerian, probably Nigerian, or Chibs for the group. But Armor Systems, we're making advanced bleeding control solutions. So essentially, we're making the defibrillator for trauma, right? If you're bleeding out, there's no go-to device like Narcan or EpiPen that helps you stop the bleed. So we've been working with the warfighter for the last 10 years, doing R&D. We came from Atlanta to Boston, where we developed for about 4 or 5 years. And in 2018, we shifted down here to Maryland for obvious reasons. We're a block away from Baltimore Shock Trauma. We're 40 minutes up the road from MRDC and a Med Command. And so it's been amazing being here with TEDCO support. I think to earlier questions you had about what does success look like on the research lab, and collaboration, I have a less self-congratulatory story for Maryland in that we worked really heavily with the Army and the Navy, but their federal labs in San Antonio, right? And the way we got access to that is I caught the former head of Combat Casualty Care, Dr. Rasmussen, outside a bathroom at a conference. It's like, sir, you don't know who I am. 10 minutes, tourniquet, And that meeting turned into an hour meeting, and then we got introduced to the federal lab down there, and they've been tremendous partners. They've taught us what CRADAs are, OTAs. We've published several things, and I think we've tapped into a lot of potentiality in Maryland, through TEDCO and DefTech, but to your earlier point, we haven't cracked the nut. If we could do that here, it'd be tremendous for, more validation, more R&D. We're at a stage where we're, after 9 years in S&T and being funded by the Pentagon, Air Force, CDMRP, it's time to build this thing and scale it. How do we take manufacturing here from Maryland? And that's where labs can be really helpful for us in translating research. So we know how to do it. It's doable. To earlier points, CRADAs let you craft pretty local, agreements that work for the company and the lab. So we tremendous, really happy to support this effort and be beneficiary, selfishly. So.
Please.
Yeah, hi, I'm Xiaodao Liu, and founder of Netherwell 5, and we are also TEDCO for the company, and we are located in Fitzy. So our company developed AI-driven smart animal sensors for precise diagnosis, and we are currently engaging with like 3M, with Nephew and Johnson Johnson. So I want to share a little bit of experiences how we work together with the federal lab. So I still remember it's about 2017 or 18. So when after we joined FITCI, so we need collaborators to help us to characterize our sensors for publish the patent. And at that moment, we cannot afford the big money and for the university and for NIST to do that service for us. It's even though it's $700, but it's huge for a startup company. So, and then through the TEDCO and through the FITCI, Cassie Mom help us connect to the National Cancer Institute, their material characterization lab. And so, and from FITCI, we back and forth a couple of round conversation, and finally we get invited to give a presentation in front of them. So, and I think later, after I give the presentation, we take 1 month or 2 months, and we move forward. So they have some budget for free to do the characterization for startup company. So that's a so great a step, significant step for us. After we get there, the and the results, and we publish patent, and then later my patent got granted. So that's a significant step. And also the foundation for us for later to apply the DoD for fee. So I want to say the partnership with Federal Lab for the startup company is amazing. I love this program idea. And I want to share another, my experience is, so our FITCI, they often organize like the event with the military, we call the Fault Alliance, if I'm not correct. So it's built a collaboration between us and the military people, the Army, Navy, and Air Force. It's so great for our startup company. We can showcase our technology. And because of that event, we attended twice. Then we exposure our sensor tech in front of the Army, the military people. And then from their research group, they said, oh, your sensor is so great. Then they started to interested. And then later we had the opportunity to get 5 SBR from DoD and $3 million till now. So I want to say that this FLLIP program is very important. So I hope we can have this program earlier. So because before the 2020, that 4 years we tried SBR 10 times. So even though I'm a fungal scientist at Caltech, I believe my technology is so fantastic. It's great. But I have no download window. So it's the truth, and you don't know how hard. And my husband and I, we have no money to pay the voucher the next month, the lab and office leasing fee. So, and at that moment, the TEDCO, and they jump in and give us the $9,000 for the beginning, and we can have our patent file and the Federal Lab and do the material characterization. So we filed 2 patents and all got granted. And until now, we have 17 patents. So, and so I want to say the TEDCO and our FITCI is very important in our personal life and also in our company life, the nanobiofab. So I think this is benefits for all the startup company, then the biotech and the life science. It's not easy like the software. So it's a return fast, and for us, we need it.
Thanks, Tim. So I want to be causative of time. Looking at the staff, are we good on time? You're good? Okay, good.
Hey, Troy, can I?
Yeah. I got to check in with the chief.
Just 1 minute. My name is Paul from Neopathology Corp. Everybody's talked about trying to get the companies into the federal labs, but there are some of us that are actually coming from the federal labs. Well, my background is medicine. My interest is actually finding ways to better treat patients and probably bring the best treatments to patient care. And for me, I went from the clinical to research, deep down in research, and then found myself in NCI for the national lab. And then I found that there is a missing link in actually taking those discoveries back to the patients. So I decided to start Neopathology Corp. I found myself in FITC. And I think these resources are really critical in helping people like ourselves, not companies that are really looking to bring discoveries to the patients to be able to really get them. And FITC, TEDCO have been very supportive in that regard. Because when I came out, I realized there's so much to learn, so much to be accustomed to, so much to really discover about the business space and how you take a product from innovation to really what is useful to the patient and real clinicians. They've only been adopting it. But these resources have provided a platform and an environment to make that possible. I see a headway and I see that possible because of these resources. Without these resources, I would probably still be lost and be thinking, this can't happen. This may not happen. I'd rather just sit in NCI for the National Lab, just be doing my discovery work and be excited about it. But because I see these resources available, I see it possible.
Just wanted to make that point.
So you're hearing all the stories of how there's a lot more out here. But a name you keep hearing, I want to give her a chance. You keep hearing Fitzy. And my friend, can I call her my friend Kathy? She currently serves as the secretary of our board. She will soon be serving as the vice chair for our board. But she's not just a friend of TEDCO, she's a friend of the ecosystem. So you've heard her name mentioned and Fitzy's name mentioned, so I want to give her a chance to speak.
Well, I gave them sledgehammers.
We got the video.
Of course.
And if you come back for the new one, I'll give you something even special, even better than that.
Yeah, I missed the sledgehammer. I couldn't make the sledgehammer, but I went back.
You'll make the grand opening, and thank you guys for that, because if it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't have it. And it's an amazing space that is going to help with this program as well. We talk a lot about trying to get the technology outside of the labs. They feel exactly the same way. If we're going to be under 2 miles from Fort Detrick, we do a lot with them, with the Fort Detrick Alliance, to try and get that out of it. You know, you asked a question, and I was sitting here thinking, out of all of the different PIAs and CRADAs and stuff that my companies have gotten, how have they gotten it? And it seems to be through the Fort Detrick Alliance, those tech showcases. One of them was we did an accelerator when Ken was doing DevTech, and she was matching them up. And then the other ones was that we've got, we can't call them advisors, we can only call them mentors, and they are in each one of our strategic growth and advisory boards. And what they do is they figure out the need and they match them with the scientists. So it's a matchmaking game that happens. But those are the only 3 ways that it seems like it's this matchmaking game. This program is going to be phenomenal. It's something that we really desperately need. And it's been successful for applied companies here. I looked around and went, wow, this is pretty cool. So I think it's desperately needed. It's going to be a phenomenal pilot that in a year from now you'll be able to say, we're really glad that we funded this. So thank you guys for doing that.
So you see our TEDCO logo, you see underneath it, it says leading innovation to market, right? And what we've been talking about today, that one little small 2-letter word, two. And two is just a small word, but boy, it's a lot. It's got a lot to make happen. And what you've provided the funding today is to help us make that two happen. And so it's not just how do we set the bar of that two for the state, but frankly, how do we set the bar for the country? How can Maryland lead the country in this tech innovation and leading this innovation to market? So I can't, again, thank you all enough. Thank you on behalf of TEDCO, our board, our chairman. I know the current chair had to step out, but our incoming chairwoman is here, Ellen. And so I can't thank you all enough. I want to make sure we have time for kind of folks to gather and talk a little bit amongst ourselves.
We also have a checkup.
Yeah, that too. That too. I want to make sure we got time for folks to get a chance to spend time with each other. So again, thank you, senators. Thank you, congressman. Thank you, delegate.
Thank you.
Thank you all.